Hello everyone, welcome to Epic Games headquarters and the Unreal Tournament stream. I'm Stacy Conley, Community Manager for Unreal Tournament.
Jim Brown, designer on Unreal Tournament.
I'm David Spolinsky, level designer on Unreal Tournament.
I'm Joe Wilcox, I'm a programmer on Unreal Tournament.
Guess what project we're working on and talking about
Which
today?
one?
Yeah.
Will you tell me?
Jim, why don't you give us a little update on what's going on with the game?
Sure. We had a lot of movement forward this week. We have been playtesting almost every day, I think.
Almost every day.
Dave has an awesome new level up that he's worked on a lot to give us some new good reference for scale and testing our dodge distances and jump heights and all those other things. You can talk more about that. Joe's got an actual game type up for us. You can talk more about that.
Yep.
But just generally speaking, Steve put a lot of work into getting kind of a good, solid character archetype that's up with a lot of thought and effort put into getting everything perfect, getting gravity just right, getting distances and heights and movement speed. We've been playing a little bit, trying some new ideas. Nick had a slide in for a while. Steve is still working kind of on a sprint mechanic where if you run for a little while, you'll speed up to...
They talk a lot about the slide on the forum.
Yeah. So anyway, there's a lot of new things that are coming in. A lot of it's experimental, but the basic kind of core movement, I think, we're pretty settled on. We're getting really, really close anyways. So that's good. Matt and Nick have been working together to put together our new weapon system. And Joe's going to have kind of an announcement there that we want to talk a little bit more about. Stacy's been doing all kinds of great community stuff. And
we have a new guy from QA on our team.
Yes, so we now have new
Cameron
QA.
Farrell. Say
Cameron's
hello.
off camera. Say hi to Cameron. Hey, everyone. And what else did we do this week? We got some pickups in. We got armor, health.
Steve, you'll notice Steve's not here. He's on vacation.
Yeah, Steve's on vacation. And we just started a bunch of little, I think, small prototypes. But
we had to keep busy, so Steve actually saw some.
It's kind of starting to feel like a game, which is pretty cool. So.
Yeah, some of the last couple playtests we've done internally have started feeling pretty fun and getting competitive and getting
trash talking
a little bit. Yeah.
Trash talking began day one.
Yeah. We had a playtest earlier in the week where we tried. We played for maybe 5 minutes, and we found a couple issues, and we pulled it down right away, fixed them, and we're up and testing about.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to be able to do that. We just, as we're developing, just to stop and go, oh wow, we need to fix that right now, and go right back into playtesting, and we got really good iteration going right now.
And the community's been great with how to help too. They're like, hey, this is broken.
Yeah.
We pull it down and fix it.
It's actually really interesting because I've never worked on a project that was out so early and had so much exposure where the community can point stuff out to us, and they're seeing the way that we do this and kind of that slow ramp up toward what they typically see as a big game announce. So if you haven't looked at it lately, I would encourage you to go to GitHub and download it, because it looks a lot different from that initial video that we released, that initial map that we had.
And thanks to everybody for watching that video.
And it's starting to actually look like Unreal Tournament, which is cool.
And feeling like it. It reminds me of the early days of UT3 when we were going from UE2 up to UE3, and we had that initial really rough BSP shell in there. It feels really good right now.
Yeah, and I mean, we're all game developers, so we're used to seeing, boxes and grids and other things like that. And so I think, putting that out there earlier than we would have normally shown it has been a little bit strange. I remember the first check-in I did on this project, I found out the day later that it was live, and I didn't realize it. And I went, oh, okay, that's going to change how I check things in. But it's been great, actually, because, I saw somebody posted a video of them running around something, and I went, oh, you just found a bug for me, thank you. And I didn't have to do it myself. So that was great.
And the community's been pitching in, and we have our first UT contributor. Everybody just likes saying his name. It's Timeh.
Timeh.
And his jump pads are actually in our main build.
Yeah, excellent job on that. I mean, it was really well done, well defined. All the systems were there. We didn't have to do a whole lot to get it in. That's the type of work we want to see going forward.
Yeah, it was very usable too. I mean, there's a lot of values that you could tweak in there, adjust the settings. It was usable in different configurations, in different ways. And then he also went in and created a bunch of videos so that he could show everyone else how he was using them and how to set them up. The whole thing was fantastic. So
I think that's a good example of contributing in a way that is easy to incorporate, and it's just going to make it, something where we'll be able to get that in a lot faster, test it a lot faster, and, we won't be apt to try to do it ourselves. We get other people's work in, and somebody else will work on something else, and we'll be much further along a lot quicker, which is great.
Yeah, and I really like the fact that by creating the videos, we were really quick to go and go, oh yeah, look, that's really good. We should really think about bringing this in and taking a look at it. Whereas before it might have been, okay, yeah, we've got a pull request and we'll look at it in a little bit. But I mean, this allowed us to zero in on it much quicker and say, wow, okay,
He was
we need to bring
extremely
it along.
helpful.
Yeah.
We're kind of make an example out of him. He's going to be our first UT contributor with a rank image in the forum. He'll have his name in the Unreal Tournament credits when the game is done. And other people will have that too, so it's not just going to be him as the first contributor. Other people who contribute will also have their name in the credits. And we're going to send him some cool Unreal Tournament swag, some Epic Games swag.
Cool. So congratulations, Tim, wherever you are.
Thank you,
Congratulations.
Tim.
You are first. Hopefully there will be many more.
Many more to come, we hope. And we're going to talk a little bit about weapons.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, I mean, we just announced the whole...
Let's show some weapons.
Sure.
We just announced the whole community challenge #1, which is make something go boom. And
Make
the object
something
here
go
is we
boom.
want some people to come in and help us out. Start making weapons. Take the weapons we already have in the game and build nice native C++ versions of them. Take the weapons we haven't done, either create native versions or even just create blueprint versions so that we can see what you guys can do out there. And of course, just take the content we have in the game already. Go nuts. Make whatever you want. You think you can make a better flag cannon than we can? Do it. All right? We want to see you do it. We want to see a video of it. We want you guys to put together stuff that's really cool too. So I think that's really what we're shooting for with this whole kind of, a challenge that we're throwing out to you guys. And hopefully you'll be up to the challenge.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to post something that is still an early working prototype and get feedback from other people in the community. Nothing needs to be, a finished, polished anything to be able to sort of explain what your idea is, and it might be a great idea. So we'd rather see it than not because you're worried about having perfect effects or something else in there.
Yeah, I mean, just for our weapons, we just went straight and pulled the old models from UT3 in. And,
Which you're welcome to do too.
And kind of ported over that functionality. I think we even went with that level of, correct me if I'm wrong, on values for damage and things like that.
Matt says yes.
So we're not saying that this is the way that they are or necessarily should be. It's just kind of the state that they're in now. So we'd love to see people finish them and port them over to code and balance them. And
it's a baseline.
Tweak the little tiny thing that we missed on the arc on the flak cannon or the bounce of the number of flak shards or whatever it is, right? Like all those things need to be played with.
We'd really like to start with UT3 in terms of the damage values and the balance and the speed, because we think it's a fairly good starting point, but it's definitely not, I think, where we're going to necessarily end up. But if you're looking for a good place to start, that's where I would.
And my one word of advice would be to think of them as a system, so that if you tweak a value, understand that you make one weapon stronger, you're making others not as strong. So you kind of have to balance the system out to handle that in some way. Sorry, I stopped clicking. So Stacey,
Well, you can.
there's only
They can look at our ugly mugs again. And Matt also made a tutorial, correct?
Yep, Matt has a tutorial in the forums. There'll be another one coming shortly that talks about how to set up the HUD elements for it as well, so that we can do that. And then I've talked to Nick, and Nick is going to put together a blueprint tutorial talking about how to build a complete weapon from scratch using nothing but blueprints.
And these will all be on the wiki too.
Right, they'll all be on the wiki, and we really want to try and get somebody to do each of the different phases. Somebody to create a native weapon, someone to create a blueprint weapon, someone to create, a brand new weapon that we haven't seen before. And when you're working on it, please, consider the fact that if you're working in native code, somebody's going to want to make a blueprint of that eventually. So start thinking about what you should expose to them as well. And we'll be in the forums talking about it. We've created a new work in progress forum for you guys to go and start threads and to post video links. Yeah, definitely. And we're going to be using that to look over what's going on, give feedback, give ideas, give comments, try and give you any directions. And it'll be a great way to interact directly with us in terms of how to do things, or if you have technical questions that you need answered, that'll be the place to do it.
Yeah, and certainly don't be afraid to actually post a link to getting your actual content, whether, for work in progress, it's all sorts of things. But, images are great and give people an idea, but as soon as you can get it to a point where people can test it, just share it, because, you're going to get a lot better feedback than, someone that just glances at a picture for a bit. So I would definitely suggest providing, whether it's a level or a character or a weapon model, weapon code, whatever you can do, share the actual content, and you'll get there a lot faster.
It's also a great place to go and meet other people. So if you're the guy who's doing the code, you've got somebody else who's working on Blueprint, you've got somebody else who's a modeler, you've got somebody else who's doing materials or effects or whatever those things are. That'll be a great place to kind of centralize and get together and form a little team, essentially, that you can kind of create a whole weapon top to bottom, beginning to end.
Yeah, we already have people in the forums looking to do that who are already talking about, hey, let's get together, let's find somebody who can do a model, let's find somebody who can work on the blueprint or work on code and try and create a little team to put this together with a guy who has an idea for building a weapon. That's wonderful. I mean, we want that to happen. And we want it to happen often, and we want to see the results of it.
This particular challenge is talking mostly about creating the code side of the weapon. We're hoping to get some of the art guys in here next week on next week's stream to talk a little bit more about visual direction and where we want to go with it.
That's a big question. Everybody's like, well, what's this supposed to look like?
Yeah, we don't have anything set in stone yet, but there are certain guidelines that they can help with, and things that they can tell you that they've tried that've worked and haven't worked and things like that. So hopefully that'll be really useful next week. Or, again, post in the forums, because they're in there reading every day and keeping up on all that stuff.
Yeah, don't let it stop you from trying an idea, though. Just just like how we're exposing, our test levels, our cubes and grids and things like that. If you have an idea, you can always iterate on it later, and so it's better to start on it now and then find out the visual direction and update it. And
exactly.
It's just the same process that we use here. Is it's usually things start out ugly or wrong in some other way, and it mutates and becomes something beautiful.
Actually, Joe, you were mentioning earlier you wanted to talk about our design process and how it's so similar to the forums.
Oh, yeah, it really is. A few weeks ago I saw a forum post about somebody talking about how, he was kind of unhappy that he saw these giant, long, page-long threads of one guy making a point and then this guy commenting and refuting his point, and then he comes back and they're Guys, that's what happens here. It
really does.
We'll have, 30-minute discussions on the merits of whether or not the translocator should have 4 charges or 5 charges. It happens every day. This is what you see. This is game development. So when you see those long posts, instead of just glancing over it, feel free to jump in and, say your piece, because otherwise we're never going to come to that common point. And I think that's so important about not only coming to that common point, but showing them how we, when we're developing these things, end up at those common points.
And I think, again, exposing, part of this project is us exposing our process to you guys, and especially right now where we are in development, there's so much that is nebulous that we don't know about, that this is the time when we do have those long discussions and talk about. I mean, we will always have long discussions, but right now is when you have the big debates about the big things that you care passionately about that become set in stone later. So now is the perfect time to be talking about that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and it's more important to be passionate about it and share your opinion. And it doesn't even necessarily matter if you end up being right down the road or getting, it's a learning process for everybody, and that's how projects evolve and change. And so right now, early in the project, we're trying things out and seeing what happens, and you end up usually eating crow on a few different items along the way.
It's better when you can look back and say, I told you so.
Yeah,
that's true. But you also got to realize that you're not going to get everything you want. Nobody ever does,
you never do. But that's part of and it's also like you come to a compromise, and that usually ends up better because it makes more people enjoy it, or it sparks another idea from someone else, and it's a snowball. So,
if we listened to Matt only, it would just be shock rifles.
I was going to say, or it angers less people.
True.
More shock balls all the time, yes.
So we have a few questions about the challenge.
Okay.
Danielito asks, is it already more or less decided that there will be no lightning gun and shield gun?
No, it's not decided at all, right? my advice would be go build a lightning gun, go build a shield gun. Show us why you think it's important or why it's really cool to have that weapon in there. I think there's another question about the Ripper as well.
Yes.
And the truth is, any of these weapons may make it into the base set. We don't know yet. We play test them. We go with it. Now, let's look at the Ripper, right? Because that's a really
that question
controversial
was from
weapon that a
Sly.
lot of people talk about. The thing about the Ripper is it is an awesomely fun gun. I can tell you the number of stories that I have playing Face where you're nailing somebody with a Ripper. It's great to kill with. Absolutely sucks to be killed with. And who it really sucks to be killed with is when you're that new player who's playing UTs maybe the third or fourth time, and you end up in that tight hallway, and all of a sudden your head pops off.
What's
Not
down this
funny.
hallway?
Yeah, it's like I keep walking down here and dying, and so the Ripper is a great example of that. If somebody makes a really cool Ripper, it would be in there, I'm sure, because it's one of the base weapons, and it would just be up to the level designer. Face works great, Curse probably not as much fun.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sure you shoot it off and you walk away, and then 2 seconds later you're on another side of the map and you hear headshot.
I mean, but that's one of those weapons that evolved too, right? Like if you go back to the original, I think it was called the Ripjack in Unreal 1.
Right.
It was a very different weapon than the Ripper that's in there now, and so it may make it into the game eventually, and it may be just a different version of that same gun, or something along those lines.
Also, if you have an idea for a version of the Ripper that is going to be fun on both ends, then just try it.
do it.
If it's fun, ends up being fun to be killed by too. Great. I mean, it's
I think
two sides of
the
the coin.
shield gun's going to be a little bit of a hard sell, at least for me personally. But there's no reason that you can't create it if you feel passionate about it and want to get it in and prove me wrong, right? I would love people to prove me wrong.
I mean, identify the core problem, right? Which, and then try to solve those issues. And I think with the shield gun, it's turtling is the core problem, and there's no real skill in just holding it down. But that's a debate I don't really want to start right now.
The chicken, yes, my favorite.
Chasing the guy with
my
the shield
favorite.
gun.
Yeah, my favorite. gift
So
of
to
all time.
answer the question, yes, go ahead and make it.
Yeah.
Make everything, make anything, and just make cool stuff, and then,
Right.
we'll figure it out. We don't have necessarily a set plan of this is what has to be in there, and this isn't. We're just going to pick what we think feels right.
Yeah, and quite honestly, like if you're looking, there's these huge kind of philosophical debates between lightning gun and sniper rifle,
Many philosophical debates.
which we haven't done it yet. So who's going to do it first, right? Please.
Yeah.
Prove
I mean,
to us that
mostly
it
what we're
works.
doing day to day is trying to make the next play test a little bit more fun than the last play test. And so, that's usually some reactionary things and some planning, but not everything is just written down in one big Bible of documentation for this is what it's going to be.
And we don't have to have one or the other. We can have both. That's, I mean, that's kind of the beauty of UT is it can be all things in some regards. That it's not set in a specific box, so to speak.
This one's kind of for you, Dave.
Sure.
About the challenge. When's it coming for level designers? Are we going to do a challenge for level designers?
Yeah, so we talked about this a little bit before the stream began, and my thought on that was that we're still trying to get in some of the missing pickups and items, and as part of the challenge for weapons, getting a bio rifle prototyped, and whether that's through blueprints or ideally through native code, getting in all of the pieces that would be considered part of the base set is kind of important before you can really make levels that are a little bit more than just an arena. The initial map that we've been testing on is a small deathmatch map, and it houses about the amount of weapons we've got implemented so far. So getting in all the pickups and power-ups and weapons that can sort of create the overall level flow for what is the average CTF or deathmatch map, I feel like we need to get there before we can do a level design challenge. But that shouldn't stop anybody from creating new level ideas, creating shells, and prototypes. And you can always say, bio rifle will go there, and it will tie into the gameplay in this way. It'll, you can shoot it at the guy that's going to pick up the shock rifle because it's, above the shock rifle spawn or something like that. But certainly, for evaluating that, it makes sense, I think, to wait until we've got all of those things in there.
Yeah. And you notice we keep talking about somebody should make a bio rifle. Hint, hint.
Mr. Bio Rifle there on the
I love
end.
the bio rifle.
I will say we do have, I think we have all the pickups except for a handful of power-ups left, but
And those went in very recently.
so health, armor
They don't
and all
have
that stuff
noises
is,
yet.
and ammo for all the existing weapons is in. So you can build stuff, you can start testing. Like you said, you just may want to say like, ooh, I'm building this area 4 weapon that doesn't exist yet, knowing that it will come down the road, or a visual set that's not there yet, or whatever. There's all those different things.
Maybe the first level design challenge will be name the test map that we've been using, which is currently called Test C.
C something,
Yeah.
CO4.
Yeah.
The other thing that we haven't really put a lot of thought into yet that I think impacts that a lot is, as Dave mentioned, that's kind of a smallish DM map. We don't even have Team Deathmatch up and running, but those larger scale maps are something that we still have to play with. And that's going to affect combat distances and how weapons play and all those other things as well. So the more that you guys build, the more we have to test with. So that will always be helpful.
I mean,
it's just a single room.
And team games are coming. I mean, they're on the schedule to try and get finished up soon. So hopefully we'll have support for Team Deathmatch, and we can look at a little bigger map and see what happens. Yeah.
I mean, we love DM Tempest and plenty of the other maps that are played frequently in TDM. It's one of those things where we're trying not to go and just play remake levels because we have additional elements of mobility that weren't really present in some of the original designs. And so, we don't want to try to just replicate, the feeling of a previous map. So we're trying to start out with new stuff. And so if you have an idea for a Team Deathmatch level, go for it. And certainly as all those things fill in there, it'll be a great testing ground. Incorporate some of the higher mobility concepts like lift jumping and wall dodging and things like that. Impact hammer jumps eventually.
I'll tell you that the jump in your map though is awesome. The double jump, the double
one,
lift.
yeah.
I love that part.
It gets to be pretty fun, yeah.
Skeet shooting.
Messing with that today. So Peter K, and that's not Pete Nepley, Peter K wonders if he has any chance to build anything since he's never done any coding in the Unreal Engine.
Absolutely.
Somebody made a post about that, and I don't know if this is him in the forums, and I responded with, you could take one of the weapons that's in there right now. Nick did almost all the weapons as blueprints. Take it, just start playing with it. You can't break anything.
And it's worth pointing out that Nick is a designer who doesn't have code background, so he did all that
strictly in blueprints,
in the editor. Yeah.
So take what he did and just start messing with it. Delete a node. Start looking at functions. I mean, back when I learned Unreal Script, that's how it was, right? We didn't have instructions. There were no manuals. We just took the game and started pulling pieces of it apart and seeing how it worked.
Yeah.
I'd strongly suggest if you don't have any coding ability and you're not an artist who wants it, just take a blueprint and start changing values. Start off there, something really simple, and see what you come up with. Maybe you decide that the flak cannon should have 30 shells come out, and see what the ramifications of that, because there are some serious ramifications of that. But do that, right? Learn as you go, and there's nothing stopping you. That's the nice thing about the Unreal Engine and Blueprints, is that you can tweak to your heart's content without breaking things.
Yeah, we've got lots of good tutorials on for Unreal Engine and on our YouTube channel, and so there's lots to learn there. But certainly, just dissecting what's already there in the content, like Joe said, with the blueprint that's so valuable because you can see the actual application that you want, and usually people want to try some sort of mutation of that. And so, as a starting point, you can start really close to what you need to do, and then swap in what you want.
Would you guys consider, one of you guys consider doing a tutorial video or something like that?
Nick has already talked about putting together one to go with Matt's. Yeah. I mean, the other thing that not to forget is we on this project are in a very unique place, in that we have all of you in the community to help with this. So you have this already, this network of people that is passionate about the game, that wants to help, that wants to build it. So if you have questions, just go in the forums and ask. And I think that there's a common misconception that we have the answers, or that we know what we're doing magically somehow. I mean, people don't realize how much we test things, and we break the game all the time, and we have terrible ideas, and
we just try not to check it in when we do that.
But I mean, it's a process, right? You have to go through it. You have to try all the things that are crazy and stupid just to see, and don't be afraid to change it. If you're changing a value, you don't have to go from 1 to 1.1. You go from 1 to 5,000 and see what happens, right? And let it explode in your face, and that's how you learn. And I think that's that kind of I wouldn't say entrepreneurial spirit, but that
Yeah.
that bravery to just dive head in first and try something crazy is a big part of the prototyping process.
Sometimes 5,000 is awesome, and you never would have gotten there going 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. So, yeah.
Rattlesnake would like to know, how can one actually submit code or prototype if he has an expired subscription? Or can he at all?
I don't think you can. I think they have to re-up the subscription in order to submit things through GitHub.
You can go in the forums, though.
You can absolutely go in the forums and talk about it. You could create, as I said,
And you
forum
can still
threads and
work on
videos
it.
and see what's going on, and you can continue to work on it. But I don't think you can submit back to us with a pull request.
You can drop it wherever you want on your own thing and provide a link, and then other people can download it and integrate it for you, or we can, or whatever. But I think the most important thing is to get it up on the forums so that we can
can take
see
a look
it
at
and
it.
talk about it. Because if it just appears in GitHub, there's very little chance that amidst the 5,000 other things that get submitted in GitHub, we'll see it. So using those forums, using we have a little prototype tag that we're putting up, so you can say, hey, this is a prototype.
And we're open for suggestions for tags and stuff like that too, to help you guys
get it out there where other
find
people
things.
can see it, and that'll be how you get it out and get it into the game if you yourself don't have an active subscription.
And just think about the amount of stuff that we have to look at and we're asked to look at on a daily basis. It's much easier for us if we can just go look at a video or read a forum post versus having to bring code in and compile it and get it running and checking it out. So it's always better if we can see it before anything's done with it.
Or other people see it and tell you it's awesome. So that's what sometimes happens.
Well, that's what happened with
Yeah.
Tim, right? I mean, we were sent videos of his, jump pad stuff, and we're like, wow, let's bring that in and take a look at it.
Sure, we were getting private messages too. Hey, make sure you guys take a look at this.
Yeah, so
from
I
other
mean,
people in
that
the
is
forum.
obviously, even if we don't see it, if you're putting a video out there, other people will see it, and then they're going to talk about it, and that's going to create interest amongst everybody to go look at it. And so that's definitely the route you want to go.
And so we have a shout out to Beyond Unreal. We have from Sir Briz. He asks, is there any way we could get source assets for weapons from previous UT games if we want to mock them up in the new game?
You can. It's not an easy process, and we actually we're messing around in the office today trying to do it, because we realized that for a lot of these things we don't have the actual source assets anymore ourselves for some of the older games. But if you put that object, say a weapon model, into a map, Matt actually figured out, Matt off camera, say hi, Matt. You can put that model in a map, export it as an OBJ, and then your typical, Max, Maya, whatever, those can typically read OBJ files, and then you can export it and re-import into the engine. So it's kind of a complicated process to get it out, but you can certainly do that.
And most of the UT3 content has already been re-imported into the engine and is available in there right now.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So all of the last generation weapons and items and pickups are all there, and I think we even have a character coming in now.
If there's something we missed there, let me know, because the UT3 stuff is pretty easy to export. We have all the source for that. It's just the only caveat we have there is that that's all in the restricted assets folder, so you can't redistribute it. And that's kind of the main thing, is to look at your EULA and see where you can and can't use it. But you can get access to all of that stuff.
Sir Briz would also like to know if we could talk a little bit about where the core mechanics are right now.
Yes, that's
Awesomely fun.
Yeah, that's a Steve thing, and he's not here this week. But when he left, he sent out this big long email with every kind of
It was a great email.
variable detailed about what he had done and where he was going and what he wanted us to look at. Long story short, I think we're very close. The core mechanics are very close to being in place in terms of ground speed, jump heights, dodge distances, all of those sorts of things. And now we're a little bit more focused on, like he has his sprint experiment in there, and do we even want to keep that? Nick had a slide in for a while, and we all thought it was a great idea. People in the community didn't, so I don't think it's in anymore. I mean, we're still kind of playing with some of those just kind of crazy fun things that we think might work, but the actual core mechanics are getting pretty close. we haven't looked at a lot of the camera stuff yet. That really kind of affects the way the game feels. Like when you land, are we going to do a little nudge or
Although we do have,
all those
don't we
sort
have
of
it in for
things.
damage now?
I don't know.
Did he get that in? Matt, do you know if... I know Nick was working
Yeah,
on
so, I
getting
mean,
damage shakes in.
The finer details are coming online, but the actual core, I think, of how fast a player moves, how far they jump, those sorts of things are relatively solid at this point.
Yeah,
Gravity is set to real world gravity, which is a little bit of an adjustment from stuff we had in the past, but I think it's working pretty well.
Yeah, we're going to put together a map that kind of illustrates some of the sizes and scales of
awesome.
how high can you jump to reach a ledge with a single jump versus a wall dodge versus some of the climb up stuff that we were messing with, and how high should a doorway be and things like that.
Should ramps, all that stuff.
Yeah, and it'll be something good to test against, and also for us, just if there are bugs too that creep in at some point, we can verify it in something like that. So we're going to put that out there, and that'll hopefully be helpful to people that are either creating new content, even if it's weapons, but certainly people that are creating prototype levels. Having those in there will help them sort of dial in their scale earlier and spend less time revising what they've got.
I will also say that the work that you guys are doing is helpful. Like I'm saying, we're very close to having the core mechanics locked down, but we thought that a week ago too, and then somebody posted a video of them spiraling around a map without ever touching the ground and wall dodging and doing. That was an incredible eye opener for a lot of people.
That was a great video.
It was a lot of fun, but
who did that video? Does anybody remember?
I don't know.
I
I
can't
don't remember off the top.
I think it was like a video of another guy, like another guy's video.
Yeah. Anyway, it was fantastic. So more of that stuff, the better, right? That's the kind of stuff we.
I think Cam found some things today too when he was doing a little bit of QA work.
So please continue to do that stuff. And like I said, I would love for you to prove me wrong when I say that we're close to locking it down, because that's the kind of stuff where the game gets fun and you start getting emergent gameplay, and then we have to decide, do we want that or not? And that opens these big debates that turn into forum posts, and that's where the game gets
Very
awesome.
long forum post.
Van Gust would like to know, are mod tools like the map editor or whatever planned, or is everything going to be made in UE4? And he's talking about when the game's finished. Is there going to be an editor available?
So the current plan right now is that at some point we absolutely definitely want to release the game for free, like we've been saying. So you won't have to have a UE4 subscription to download. You can download the game and play for free. Beyond that, we don't know. There's a lot of legal issues and debates and internal stuff that's going to happen way out of the scope of just the UT team, just in terms of the engine side, the Epic side, and all those things. So I guess the short answer is we don't know. Personally, I would love for us to get mod tools out in some fashion, so that anybody who plays can also mod and create something somehow. How far we can go with that, we don't know. Whether that's going to be an additional cost or what, I don't know. Right? Like the only thing we know for sure is that the game itself will be out for free, and beyond that, we'll wait and see.
And we've talked to some of the old composers who are going to be coming back. Is
Yep.
there anybody else who might be coming back to work on the game?
I'm trying to think.
Other than Matt and Joe?
Well, we actually have a lot of people. It's kind of funny. I was talking to Nick the other day. Walking through the halls, people will stop us and be like, "Ooh, what can I do to help you guys?"
Right.
They're off working on Fortnite. They're off working on their own project. But we're still a really small team, and even a lot of the guys here are kind of part-time and just contributing where they can. So yeah, there's a lot of people that are going to be coming back internally from their other project and contributing in ways that we don't even realize yet.
And they're doing it on their own time too.
And then I've also talked to some of our external contractors, and all that stuff is still kind of in the works, so I don't want to say anything yet, but we have been talking to people, and probably there will be some names and faces that everybody recognizes. At least I hope so.
We kind of already covered this, but Sly wants to know if we have Any comments on the heated discussions between UT99 and UT 2004 fans?
Yeah, keep having them.
Yes.
Please.
There's no other way to say it. These discussions are what drives us to a common point that's going to be really cool.
We don't need 24 threads about this.
Well, even that, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, the truth of the matter is we all read the forums.
Yep.
You know, if you're out there thinking, oh, they don't really, no, we do. We read through just about every post that comes up. Each one of us has a forum or two that we manage, and we read each and every post. So keep having these discussions, because not only does it, keep the community going, it keeps us going. We see what you guys are thinking, and we bring those arguments into our own arguments when we talk about it. So yeah,
we had a sniper rifle versus lightning gun.
we had that discussion just today. I mean,
discussion. Sorry.
Yeah, it wasn't really an argument. I mean,
it was a discussion.
I don't have to break out the whole
yes,
cans
it was.
yet.
It was an argument.
Well, I'm bringing the whole cans then. But yeah, we have these discussions, and they're great. So keep having them.
Yeah. The one thing I will say is that it doesn't have to be one or the other. I mean, the whole point of this project is that we're doing something new. So it doesn't have to be UT99. It doesn't have to be 2004. It doesn't have to be UT3. It can be its own thing that takes the best elements of or pieces of various games. So
it already feels like, to me, it feels like it's already heading in that direction.
Yeah.
It does, having played all of the different games and having worked on them.
It's
and
not
it's like
quite like
any of them. Yeah.
But it's got, I mean, it's, hopefully you guys are out there launching your own, little play test groups with your friends, because you can do that now. You can get the source. You can actually play it online. Yeah, you have to use console commands, but it's all doable. So you guys should be...
We play the old games. We know how to do
you
those.
should be experiencing the same type of gameplay that we are, and we have a blast. You know that we're getting to a point where it's really fun when it's, Friday and nobody wants to leave because we're in the middle of a play test. It's like, all right, come on, put Curse back on for a few seconds. That's where you know that we're getting into that really kind of like magic time of the game, and we're getting pretty close to that. So please run it and let us know what you think.
Yeah, we're also talking about having some play tests with the community with some of the older games too.
Yeah.
yeah, I would love to do that. Start doing it maybe on Friday afternoons or whatever. Until we get a free version out of the new game, I would love to start running some old play tests of, hey, let's throw up UT99, let's throw up UT3, and just
let's go play
for an evening, right?
And we've rented some servers.
So
we're
Stacey
ready
has
to
some
go.
servers for us, and we just need to get people to come and play with us, really. And if nothing else, come take out your aggression and shoot us in the face, right? Like that's how we learn, right? Because I guarantee you're probably better than most of the people that work here.
We'll post when Matt's going to play, and you can go beat on him.
Yeah.
Yes,
but
please.
good luck with that one, because he's actually
Really
probably
good.
the one good player here. So
It's very good. Yeah, so I brought this up so I actually get it done. So because people will message me and say, when are we doing
follow
it?
up with Stacey, because I've been on her for a couple weeks
Keep
now.
just private message her on the forum. She loves that.
Yes. Have you thought about any game types, any mods included by default, such as TAM or Jailbreak, in the final game?
That's our game type guy.
We've thought about deathmatch. Right now, we are entirely concentrating on getting a deathmatch prototype up and running. From there, we'll probably go to some form of team deathmatch, maybe CTF. But I mean, we're going to stick to very basic game types, because for at least the near term, that is what really allows us to proof out weapons and movement without having all of this extra fluff, so to speak, on top of it. So I would think for at least the medium term, it's going to be just deathmatch and team deathmatch. We probably won't look at implementing any mods. That being said, I would really love to see somebody doing either a TAM or a Jailbreak mod, so that when we introduce the marketplace later on down the line,
Rocket
boom,
Arena.
there's everybody can play Jailbreak by just going into the front end and saying, I want to play Jailbreak, or I want to play TAM, or I want to play Rocket Arena. So it's right there. So I hope that there are teams out there that want to put together these mods for people to play. But for us internally, I think we'll stick just with deathmatch and team deathmatch.
And,
Yeah, it's something we have to grow into, really. I mean, it's for now, it's one of those things where our focus is on the basic foundation game types, and mods just build on top of those and make it that much better. But
the newest version of UE4 came out last week or 2 weeks ago, which had a whole section about how to build vehicles. So if anybody wants to jump in and start in on something like, I don't know,
vehicles.
Onslaught or Warfare,
VCTF.
VCTF, like all of those things, go for it, please. I would love to see that happening. That's going to be a much bigger project, but there's no reason you can't start with one vehicle, right? You got to
And
start
if you
somewhere.
want to check out the vehicles, there's still a lot of UT 2004 vehicle maps out there and UT3 vehicle servers, and a lot of people are still playing the vehicle game types out there. That question was from TG Rye, and this one, we'll end with this one, is from MacD11. What are the dev team's favorite fan-made game modes?
Jailbreak.
I knew that one was coming.
Jailbreak.
I just let mine out. I've
Yeah.
always been a fan of Rocket
Rocket
Arena,
Arena.
which I think we officially incorporated it for UT99, but that started as a community Quake thing. So
Yeah, I like Rocket Arena, and I think originally, before we incorporated it, Greed. So
yeah,
Matt's pointing to himself right now.
Matt, is that your favorite?
RPG Mod was awesome too.
he's right over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt's favorite is Greed too.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed TAM. After UT 2004, it went over to UT3. I still went back every once in a while and played some TAM. I really like that, and I love Jailbreak.
It's actually been really interesting to see kind of the split in the forums between the guys who love UT and the guys who are like the hardcore competitive people. And I'm hoping that both ends will start to see that there's a middle ground there, because we're not going to make the uber competitive game that's really not fun to play but works really well for the competitive guys, and we don't want to make the super easy cheesy game that isn't competitive at all but is just totally arcadey and off the rails. So come together, find a place.
But it certainly doesn't mean that people won't be able to make their mod or
Sure.
their thing
totally.
to make it exactly what they want.
Yeah.
But certainly, we want to appease
We have a lot of
more than just
competitive
one
people, yeah.
audience here.
we
with
want to take the
base.
best out of all of those and figure out a way to balance it. So
Yep.
it's,
And then make sure you have the tools to make what you think is missing and to help you out, to be there in the forums, to give you support, and so that we can get our UT comp and we can get our TAM. I mean, those are
Yeah.
pretty much the two ends of the spectrum, right? And I'd like to see both of them be remade.
Yep.
I did like UT Comp.
Yeah.
So tomorrow we have the Unreal Engine stream at 2 o'clock on Twitch TV/Unreal Engine. We should have a slide also that shows. Thank you, Joe and Jason. Is Jason over there? Our guys behind the scenes. You can see where to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram. And we're going to do this every week, so make sure you join us next week, and we'll have your questions, and we are hoping to have some Chris Perna.
Yay.
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 Art love.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks a lot.
See you later.
Thanks.